Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be showing off the new Queen Spider build with the new buffs that it did receive for Season 25, the season where we get the new Soul Shards. So just as a heads up, the D3 planners will be pinned down below in the comment section below for all of the equipment and gear that you're going to be needing for this build. But I do have to quickly mention really quick that there are going to be items that show up as different items, and that's because they don't exist on the Diablo 3 planner website. And I'll show you guys exactly what the heck the new buffs are and basically the changes with this. So first off, let's go ahead and go over the new spider bonus, the Spirit of Arachyr, that did get a bunch of different buffs and a different playstyle. Kind of got a rework here. So with the two-piece bonus, we get a permanent Spider Queen, and that's going to make a infestation thread. You're kind of seeing it right here in the gameplay. There's like a white line. That's to indicate kind of where the spider is. And if you want to direct where you want the spider to go, the queen spider, you throw a corpse spider, and that's going to make it so the queen is going to go right on top of that. And that's important because what it's going to do with the two-piece bonus is it's going to infest them, basically making it so the enemies that are infested are going to be taking the same damage to all of the infested enemies. So basically massive amounts of extra bonus damage. And then with the four-piece bonus, the Spider Queen leaves behind webs that last for 15 seconds and they slow enemies, and then the infested enemies remain infested while on the web, and you take 75% reduced damage while in the web and for 4 seconds after. This is actually something super important, as sometimes if you notice I'll be taking a massive chunk of damage. These are all, by the way, GR100s on the PTR, and basically you want to make sure you upkeep that and kind of go a little bit slower if you want to maintain the ability to survive, but you do have the ability to go very fast with Spirit Walk with this build, and with the new offhand you're going to be able to use that very frequently and upkeep it. But with the six-piece bonus, it's just the damage multiplier of 17,500% for all of the creature skills. So that's going to be Corpse Spider, Plague of Toads, Fire Bats, Locust Swarm, Hex, and Piranhas. But the only thing that really matters is the Corpse Spider bonus. So that's the big change with the Spirit of Arachyr. So there are, again, some other changes on items. Like, for example, we're not going to be running the Crumbs buff belt. We're running other items that don't exist in the iteration of the D3 planner right now because it's not out, because Season 25 isn't out. But I'm showing you guys gameplay of it because it's on the PTR. So in the belt category, we're running Brood of Arene. The only reason why you run it is for the secondary bonus, but its Corpse Spiders deal an additional up to 100% bonus damage, and each spider bite causes the target to take an additional 1% damage from Corpse Spiders for 5 seconds. And you're going to heavily try to prioritize getting attack speed, so Tasker and Theo are just rolling attack speed on our gloves is going to be something that you try to prioritize. But again, this is like a newer item, so that's why, again, it's going to show up as Crumb's buff belt because we can't put it in yet on the D3 planner website. In addition to that, there are some other things that I do want to go over. So this is the season of the new Soul Shards. So we're running in the helm the Shard of Hatred. Don't worry about the int or whatever you get for the defensive stats on the very top. The more important thing is getting those two bottom stats to be it's kind of weird how they worded this. It should be like the very last little diamond of text should be above the other one because it's just the way that it's oriented. But I'm going to read the very bottom one over here where my mouse is first, because otherwise it won't make sense. So this is a legendary soul shard. This is going to be in our helmet. So we deal 15% reduced damage while we have 3 or fewer enemies within 25 yards. But if more than 3 enemies are within the same distance, you deal 10% increased damage per enemy to a maximum of 100%. Now we're going to read the second to the last little diamond, which says you now deal 15% increased damage for every enemy instead of 10% to a maximum of 150. So extra 150% damage as long as we meet those requirements, and this is going to be pretty much the best in slot for most builds. Sliver of Hatred can be okay as well. I've seen that on the leaderboards, but mostly it's going to be Shard of Hatred for most players. On top of that, there's also a soul shard that we can put inside of our weapon, and that's going to be the Dreg of Lies. Now there are 2 different builds. You can run either poison or fire. And technically these are just other variants, but basically get the elemental damage that you're going for in terms of your build. But what we're looking for on the Dregs of Lies is each time our pet hits an enemy, our damage is going to be increased by 1% for 5 seconds, and it stacks up to 100 times. When you reach 100 stacks, it quickly resets to 0. Now, the other bonus that we want is that we will deal 25% less damage, but our pets deal 50% increased damage because it's a pet build, so that's how we're going to be scaling our damage. There are people on the leaderboard running a build right now also that is running off of a cheat death mechanic, which summons a shadow clone. Just as a heads up, that might be something that might get nerfed, so I'm not going to be including it, but if you want to, it's just another option if it does still maintain its relevancy when the season does actually launch. Check the pinned comment, I'll mention it if it does get changed, because a lot of people are thinking that it will be getting nerfed because the damage multipliers on it are a little bit insane, especially since you have so much pet scaling. But that may not be something that is going to be viable going into Season 25. But with our offhand, we are running the Shurikani's Triumph. This lets us basically spirit walk until we get to a area where we are within a range of an elite, and it's awesome. This is going to let you just speed through when there's no monsters. You can go super fast. I love it. It is a blast to play. But next up, in terms of our other like build options, because there are different options if you want to play different skills, but for the most part, they're going to be very similar. It's just kind of what you want to put inside of the cube and things like that. Now, in terms of the skills, I want to go over that first for the gameplay. So with our Spirit Walk, we're just going to be running Severance so we can get extra movement speed. Just use this, but it'll also increase our damage with the Shurikani's Triumph. Again, this is something that it may not show up in the D3 planner unless they update it, but we do get extra bonus damage when we're in the Spirit Realm. And then we're running Leaping Spiders, but you can also run the Fire Rune if you would like to. And then Soul Harvest, Languish, so we can get extra survivability, although some people have been using the Movement Speed Rune as well. Big Bad Voodoo just for more damage. With the, there's actually Slam Dance is the rune that you want, so you can get the increased damage as well. And then we are running Locust Swarm with Pestilence. Now, you can run Wormwood inside of the Kanai's Cube if you would like to for a more like lazy, easier approach. But the Sacred Harvester will be better technically for min-maxing, but you will have to manually cast it for our bonus on the Ring of Emptiness. So you're just going to be casting this on enemies. Unless you're running Wormwood, then it'll auto-cast for you. And then we have our Piranhas with Piranado. Groups them all up, really nice. So basically for big groups or elites, Piranhas, throw the Big Bad Voodoo down. With Soul Harvest, you just basically just upkeep it. And then Corpse Spiders, we spam it for our actual damage. This we do have to proc at least once, unless we happen to have Wormwood. And that's basically the playstyle and the skills. In terms of the passive, we're running Grave Injustice, Confidence Ritual, Pierce the Veil. You can run Bad Medicine, or if you want to, you can also run Swampland Attunement. Obviously, the other one does require you to use Poison, so keep that in mind as well. In terms of the cube, you can run the Wormwood, you can run Tasker and Theo, you can run Royal Ring of Grandeur. A lot of these are swappable, like you can throw in the Mask of Jerem and then like equip the other item. It doesn't really matter, but primarily this is what's going to be inside of the cube for most people. You can swap the rings in and out too, like if you want to run, heck, you can even run Traveler's Pledge. That's also a very viable option. Now that we've went over like the skills and the passive, let's go ahead and go over the pieces of gear and kind of what you're looking for. So this is just more of a standard build for Diablo 3. Crit chance, crit damage, but when you can get the bonus damage on the Corpse Spiders, that's going to be on your pants as well as your belt. Remember, don't run this belt. Run this belt. It's just because it doesn't exist. But yeah, you're going to run Corpse Spiders, bonus damage, belts, pants. And then pretty much crit chance, crit damage, and then if you get area damage, that's good. But if you can get attack speed on your gloves, that is something that you would prioritize because your damage starts ramping up really fast with the bonuses with this build. So in terms of the necklace, you can run squirts, crit chance, crit damage. Nothing too important with that. In the gem category, we are also running the Bane of the Trapped, pretty standard, and then we're running Simplicity Strength because it is going to be a build that does use that. We also have got Depth Diggers in here as well, and then we've got the Ring of Emptiness. So Ring of Emptiness is how we're going to get bonus damage when they're affected by Haunt or Locust Swarm. They get massive amounts of extra damage. So again, if you want to auto cast it, Wormwood, and then you don't actually have to cast it, but make sure you are activating. It's a huge extra amount of bonus damage. So Enforcer for the other gem slot, that's going to give us extra pet damage, and then Simplicity Strength because it's a Corpse Spider build. As far as the other gems, it's just going to be either Int, you can throw in, if you want to, you can throw in Emeralds, and then get extra survivability in that department if you want to, but crit chance, crit damage, and then main stat. But once you get enough paragons, like if you're in the several thousand paragons, you can just get the bonus to poison fire, whatever build that you decide to go for. And the helmet, just crit chance is the only important thing. The rest doesn't really matter too much. For our shoulders, if we can get area damage, that's great. And on top of that, getting cooldown reduction is okay, but this build doesn't heavily rely on cooldown reduction, so don't worry about it too much. For our bracers, basically the same crit chance, then elemental damage. The rest doesn't matter. You can get like life per hit, you can get extra vitality. That's totally fine. On our belt, nothing too important, just getting the corpse spider's bonus damage. And then for the rings, crit chance, crit damage, attack speed, those are the kind of the stats that you're looking forward to getting. For the pants, just getting that corpse spiders, the rest doesn't really matter too much. Same thing with the convention of elements. Oh, this one always, you can get pretty good rolls on this one. And then for the Shurikane's Triumph, if we can get the area damage, crit chance, that is ideal, and the corpse spiders as well. Then for our weapon, we want to try to actually roll attack speed. A lot of times you'd get cooldown reduction on this piece of gear, but in this build you really don't need it, which is kind of awesome. So just attack speed would be ideal, and like I said, there are different variants of the build. So if you want to, I've seen people, you can throw in, what is it? Yeah, you can throw in the one that gives you additional armor. There's also one that gives you, Stalker gives you extra movement speed as well. There's just a few variances on the build, but for the most part, these are the ones that I've seen to be the most successful on the leaderboards. And it is definitely a very unique build. You kind of have to throw this, jar down of spiders, and then you got to stand on it. Make sure you guys do stand on it, especially if you are next to elites, because sometimes the spider, it's just, you throw it just a little bit too far to the left or right, and you lose out on that 4-second buff, and then you pop, and then you have to reset. And it's really unfortunate because the build definitely relies off of Soul Harvest with the bonus of the Lakumba's ornament to actually have the extra survivability to survive a lot of these scenarios with this build. But anyways, it's definitely a unique build. If you haven't played like Witch Doctor or this build in a while, it's definitely what I would consider a unique build. It's a pet build at the end of the day, but it is very good at killing Rift Guardians. Like I said, these are all GR 100 pluses. For the gameplay, I was just kind of speeding through, but definitely going to be something that I might mess around with when the season comes. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap up things for the build. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new and you want to see more Diablo and other gaming videos in the future, hit subscribe, turn the bell, and you'll definitely see more. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you next one. Peace.